Hello friends and welcome back to our homestead. Yesterday I harvested our honey and my beekeeping friends, you'll know what I mean. When you go to pry open that cover and inner cover of the beehive, it's sealed shut. You have to use a special beekeeping tool to pry it open. It's because the bees seal everything with this super sticky substance called propolis. In my language, we call it propolis. Propolis is a wonderful substance that bees use to protect the beehives. But I know that it's super medicinal for us. And this has been used in natural medicine for centuries. I mean for centuries. It goes way back to the ancient Egypt and other nations. So right now, it's still very sticky and soft just because I took it off the hive yesterday. But once it dries up, it becomes like little amber pebbles. So I'm going to bring you closer. I'm going to show you what I'm going to be doing with this propolis today because I'm going to be making homemade medicine for our health. All right. So I'm going to bring the camera closer. Right along the edges is propolis. That's where the bees love to seal everything off, so there's no entrance anywhere for the predators to come and the diseases to come. This is how bees protect themselves. So I'm just going to use a beekeeping tool and I'm going to scrape it off, and this is what it looks like. Do you see these amber pebbles? And it is everywhere. And right now, like I said, because it's fresh, it's still nice and soft. Okay, it's nice and soft, but once it gets hard, they become like pebbles. And I will show you something from last year that I have harvested. The beekeeping tool gets stained with this propolis, and it is impossible to wash it off unless you wash it with alcohol. Okay, because this propolis is not water soluble at all. It is only soluble in high grade alcohol. Okay, like Everclear, like 75, 80% alcohol, not proof, percent. So this is what we after today. This is what we after today. So I'm going to be scraping all of the edges and I'm going to be collecting it to make our medicine. Just look at it. It's everywhere. You see that? This is all propolis. This is all propolis on the edges. So I need to scrape all of this just like this. Just like this. The literature says to make sure that the propolis as clean as possible. But I can tell you that people who write that is usually people who have never worked with propolis before and not understanding that it is natural to get a little bit of beeswax in it. It is natural to get a little bit of pollen in it mixed in, because it's in the process of bees were living here and working here. So people who write stuff sometimes probably never worked with bees before, who write that the propolis has to be extremely clean. Once I begin to process this, I will realize that there's going to be some bee pollen here and even wax. So as I've mentioned, this does not dissolve in water whatsoever. So in order to make medicine out of it, we need to either infuse it in oil or dissolve it in a tincture for internal use. So let me show you how I'm going to be using this today. So propolis can be taken internally. So that means it has to be turned into a tincture. And tincture is made with very high proof alcohol. It has to be much stronger than 100 proof alcohol. It has to be grain alcohol like Everclear, 75%, 80% alcohol. 40 proof or 50 proof is not going to do it. It's not going to dissolve all of these resin and all of these properties that's in the tincture. So this tincture I made back in 2019. It's 6 years old, and I know it's perfectly fine because it was made in Everclear, very, very high proof alcohol. It has a beautiful amber color, and so that's how you take it. I usually put it in a little bit of, in a small cup like this, and I add a little bit of water because it's so strong. But watch what it does. It does this funky thing. It turns white. It turns milky white, and that's perfectly normal. It's a reaction it creates. It's called the ouzo effect. Some alcohols do that, including this one. So it's perfectly fine that it turns white like that. All right. So this is a tincture. And a tincture is taken internally because it's such a strong antimicrobial property in this resin, in this propolis. So let's talk about it. Propolis is a strong antimicrobial, antifungal, antibacterial, and antiviral. So anybody, when somebody comes home and they're like, oh, my throat is feeling it, I think I'm coming down with something, we start with propolis tinctures right away. And because I know it's a strong antioxidant, it also helps to mop up all the free radicals in the body and support your immune system. Yes, propolis is a powerful immunomodulator, and it helps your immune system to be boosted up when it needs to fight something, okay? Propolis has many other properties as anti-inflammatory. So I know that sometimes when somebody, again, inflammation is happening, it can be taken as an anti-inflammatory, okay? So somebody may ask me, well, Lilia, Everclear or this high-proof alcohol is such a strong alcohol. Of course, it has side effects. Well, guess what? So it does Tylenol and ibuprofen. So I mentioned it. We don't take this forever. It's not something you take every single day. You take it as needed for a short period of time. But I do know that anytime anybody is fighting anything, this is used in our home. But it also can be used externally. Yes, it can be used externally. So, and that is exactly what I'm going to be doing today. In case you're wondering how to make a tincture using propolis, you need Everclear or some other very, very strong alcohol. And the proportion is by weight. You know me that I'm usually the folk method of not measuring anything, but in this case, I think it's worth of weighing things. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing today when I make my second preparation. But for tinctures, you can do a very strong tincture, 1 part of propolis and 3 parts alcohol. But alcohol has to be grain alcohol, very strong alcohol, not rubbing. Never, ever rubbing alcohol. Internally, that is poisonous and do not recommend. On the other hand, everything that I say here, please do your own research. This is not intended to be your treatment. It's not intended to be your prescription. Please talk to your providers. Please talk to your practitioners, whoever is taking care of you, and do your own research. We need to be responsible for what we're doing to ourselves and not relying what may be said on internet. So, propolis. Propolis can be used internally as well, and it can be made into infused oil, and that's what I want to do today. Since I already have tincture, and tinctures last a long, long time, I don't need to make more right now, but I want to make infused oil, and I'm going to be using good quality olive oil. That's what I'm going to be doing. So I have a scale, I have something to measure in, and I'm going to be making infused oil because infused oil can be used topically on cuts, on bruises, on scrapes, on wounds, on mild burns. And that's what I need for. So because it has antifungal and antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties, it is good to heal wounds. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So this infused oil is going to require heat. So I'm going to bring it in the house and I'm going to finish it on the stove. So let me show you everything that I'm going to be needing for this infused oil. Super simple, not complex at all. Just a few little numbers we have to do on a scale. To make infused oil, I'm going to need a scale. So I'm going to be going in grams, but you can do in ounces if you like. So I'm just going to zero out my vessel first. I always use glass for this case, and let me measure out my propolis because the ratio we're looking for to make this is 1 part of propolis, so I have 11 grams, to 9 parts of oil. So now I'm gonna again, so if this is 11 grams, I'm going to be needing 99 grams of oil. So now I'm going to be pouring my oil until I get 99 grams. So 1 to 9. All right. It's going to take me a minute. I'm going to go a little slower here. I'm using olive oil. A little bit more. Oh, I'm afraid to overpour. That's up. See, and I did overpour. All right. So perfect. So 1 to 9. So at this point, we're going to go to the stove because I need to put it into a double boiler. So I don't have a real double boiler. So what I'm doing is that I'm just have a pot of water and I'm going to put a piece of cloth on the bottom. Okay. So when I put my vessel on top, it's going to sit on top of a cloth and not break, and it's going to create a double boil effect. Okay, here's my oil and I'm going to put it right inside. I want to make sure that the fluid doesn't go over, and I'm going to start put it on the heat. I'm going to put it in the heat and I'm going to allow this to warm up. But here's a couple of tricks. It is important that the oil never reaches about above 120 degree Fahrenheit, which is about 50 degrees Celsius. So I have this little handy tool that I'm going to be monitoring. Let me turn this on. That I'm going to be monitoring the temperature of the oil. Okay. So right now it's already 75, 78 in the room. So anyway, I'm going to be keep stirring it, and I'm going to be keep measuring, making sure that it does not reach above 120 Fahrenheit. Because this should not be cooking, because cooking olive oil actually destroys the medicinal properties of it. And same with propolis. We want to warm it up and we want to keep it at that temperature of 120 Fahrenheit or 50 Celsius for about 10, no more than 15 minutes. 15 minutes is sufficient, okay? So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to actually turn the heat down because I want to gently warm this up. And I'm going to, once in a while, I'm going to stir it. I'm just using a little wooden skewer. I'm just going to stir it around. And I need to keep an eye on that temperature. We do not want it to boil high, okay? So no more than 120 that's what we want. It's not all going to dissolve, okay? What is this right now? Okay, it's already climbing, so I have to keep an eye on it, okay? The temperature reached 122, so I'm going to turn off the heat and I'm going to move it off the heat actually, so it will continue to do its thing. I'm just going to stir this, okay? It became one massive gelatinous kind of bowl. So let this now steep in this hot oil. I took it off the heat because it started reaching above 120 and I don't want to continue to reach. So took it off the heat. 10, 15 minutes, let this thing, do its infusion in the hot oil now. Okay, 15 minutes is done, and let's take this out of the double boiler. All right, it's not very hot because it never came to a boil, so I'm not worried about touching it. And now I'm just going to stir this around, and I'm going to allow this to completely cool off before I strain it and place it in a glass jar for future keep. All right, so it's going to take quite some time for this oil to cool off, but that's what it looks like right now. All right, just like this. Okay, let this cool off now. This oil cooled off quite a bit, and now it's time for me to strain it because the propolis is already sticking to it. So what I'm going to be placing it into a very clean, very dry, because we cannot mix oil and water, glass jar, and I just lined it with a piece of cotton cloth that I'm not afraid of throwing it away, because trust me, it will be stained to the point that you're going to have to throw it away. And I'm just pouring all this oil in there, okay? Because this, my friends, is now very thick resin, okay? So I need to make sure all of this goodness oil is in there. And I'll strain it all, make sure we don't get any particles, but just the infused oil. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, I want to make sure that everything is strained through. And we got ourselves infused oil, Propolis infused oil here. I'm going to put a cover on it. And as always, I need to label this so I will know what's in here. There are Propolis pre-impregnated dressings that oil can be soaked into a dressing and the dressing is applied to a wound. All right. So Propolis oil can be used externally to treat wounds. Okay, so here is my Propolis tincture and Propolis infused oil. I was just smelling it, and it smells like my childhood, because I grew up with Papa always keeping bees, and I remember that smell from my early childhood of Propolis. Propolis, once it's dried, looks like this. Let me open a jar. It looks like a jar of amber dust and pebbles. Propolis really doesn't go bad. It's just it's very hard at that point, like crumbles, okay, because it's dry. In case you don't keep bees, where do you find propolis? Well, you can actually ask beekeepers at a farmer's markets, your local farmer's markets, when you go looking for honey. You can ask if they also sell beeswax, which can later be used to make salves and ointments. You need beeswax, natural beeswax. Or you can buy this online. You know, you can ask for propolis to buy online. I will leave a link where you can find propolis to buy online. We just keep adding every year to our propolis collection here, so we have plenty of propolis. Propolis is a fantastic. If bees are making it and using it for their health, it's good for our health as well. So friends, I hope you are encouraged to look into propolis and the medicinal benefits to our health from propolis. On this note, friends, I hope you are encouraged and try something new. Bruno, are you a good boy? Are you helping Mama to make medicines? Yeah? You follow me everywhere I go? You're a good buddy. Mama loves you. You're a good boy.